All right, guys, welcome to Empowered Leads Team Call for October 18th. We have Aspire Nation on tonight with us too. I just wanted to quickly mention two things before we get started and see if there's any recognition as well. But make sure to check out in the team page today. I announced our purpose-driven push training that Kathy Reuter and I put together. So we're super excited about that. And also, if you missed the post about the November to Remember registration is open now. So you're going to want to grab your partner and get registered and sign up for that too. And I think that's basically the two important things. The rest of the things you see in our team page, and I don't want to waste too much time, but does anybody have any recognition that they want to shout out this week? I know that Laura would have, but I don't see her on. So she can wait till next week, I guess.
I would, but I don't think her team is here for Kelly Riley. Grace isn't on either, I don't think.
No, they can wait till next week because it's a
they're all not here. All right, there went that.
We shall celebrate next week.
Like, where the hell will go?
I don't know. All right, does anybody else have anything that they want to shout out before we get started? No? Okay. All right, I'm super excited. We have Mackenzie on tonight. Mac, you'll have to say how long you've been a coach because I really, truly, honestly don't remember. But she is a Diamond coach, an SC All-Star, and an SC10 legend, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, SC All-Star.
All-Star.
Yeah.
I asked Mackenzie to come on tonight because I feel like there are those people that just totally stand out on social media that like you can't scroll by without just wanting to be like, I have to read what this person says. Like you connect to it. It makes you feel something. It's vibrant. It's exciting. It's pretty. It's fun. It's emotional. It's vulnerable, whatever. But she combines all these things so amazingly to really attract her people and really impact her network. And I think that's something that we all obviously can always continue to work on and get better at because social media really truly is a skill and an art. So it's something that we constantly should be working to get better at. So I asked her to hop on here tonight and share about that with you. And she's also going to share about how your social media also impacts your ability to change people's lives and hit Success Club. So I won't talk anymore and you can take it away.
Okay.
Oh, hey guys.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say, if you would, before you get started, would you just mention how long you've been a coach and just kind of quickly how your life has changed since you started?
Definitely. So actually this month is 2.5 years to be exact. And what's crazy is it's just, I had a really amazing, I don't know, I don't want to brag on her, but my coach is like my best friend. So I kind of had sorry if my voice isn't lining up to my mouth right away, by the way. I think my Zoom is still warming up. I really had an inside behind the scenes look to coaching like before I started. So I was able to hit Success Club from the first month of even being a coach and then on. So it's something that really is super, super important and impactful. And I remember when she said to me, hey, like to be successful as the coach, you need to be helping people. You need to be hitting Success Club. And at the I was just like, okay, like that's what I need to do. So it's kind of one of those things where you just have to trust what that leader is telling you because they're telling you that for a reason. And to think back to where I am now, of course, I've come a really long way, but it is the like total foundation of everything I feel like that we stand for as coaches. So I'm just excited to kind of talk to you guys about that. And I'm really happy to be on here. Thank you, Dana and Annalisa. I've actually like been starstruck by these girls since day one because I came in, they were all like, like already been here for so long, but I started coaching really right out of college pretty much. I'd already been graduated for a little while, but I was bartending and I had a PR degree, but I wasn't really like excited to utilize that. There was no kind of like, job opportunity that was lighting me up, or I wasn't even going on interviews. I was like the person that was graduating that had literally no plan because I did not, for the life of me, want to get out of school and go do something that I absolutely hated. because up until then, I was in control of my life pretty much. When I went to college, I had to get a job right away. I actually had 2 jobs all through school. I paid for everything. I was super independent. And the last thing I wanted to do was actually have somebody else telling me what to do, like even more than. So I just wasn't really into that. So I was watching my friend, do this coaching thing, and I was still bartending on the side. But I'm sure we can all agree that before we became coaches, we all had these like huge skepticisms. We were like, that could never be me. Like, I have all this weight to lose, and I could never be inspiring. I could never be motivating. I could never do what you do, basically. And, I'm sure we could all say that these products change our lives. And that's what happened to me. I followed a 21-day program to the end. And for the first time in like years, I'd seen myself actually do something. Now, day, I was still drinking, and, I wasn't perfect, but I saw myself like grow just that much. And that's really all it took for me to be like, okay, like this is special, because I'd never felt like that before. I'd spent 4 years going in and out of like binge drinking and binge eating and drugs, and it was just a mess. And I felt like such a failure. Even though I had just graduated college, I felt like such a failure on the inside. I had nothing that I really felt that proud of, and I had no like light at the end of the tunnel. So I didn't really know where I wanted to go. So once I kind of, had that moment with her and I got into diving into coaching and everything, I want you guys to know that everybody's speed with this and growth with this is different. And for me, it took a little bit of time to kind of like actually see myself doing this thing, like really doing it, like really putting yourself out there with intention and discipline and daily action, vision, goals, you name it, the whole 9 yards. Not just like the kind of like, here I am showing up, like, I think I'm doing enough, I think I'm getting by. But all you need to be committed to is that growth. All you need to be committed to is just going that little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And the more that you do that, the more comfortable and confident and success that you're going to have. So recently I just went, well, I guess not recently, back in March, I quit my bartending job. So that was kind of like my number one goal from day one. I was like, well, don't want to go work for corporate and don't want to bartend for the rest of my life. So should probably make this work. And yeah, like there was just this light bulb that had to go off where it was like, you need to take yourself seriously. And I think that's a really hard thing to do, because as soon as we take responsibility, everything comes. And we can either let that get us down or let that make us rise to the occasion. And there are definitely moments where I, get beat upside the head sometimes. I feel like a total failure. And I don't really think you're succeeding in this business until you feel like a total failure, until you feel like you're literally not even going a single inch, but you actually are moving so much more than you really think you are. So just a little hint, when you feel like a total loser, you're probably about to have, like the greatest breakthrough ever, or reach the biggest goal of your life, because that means that you're pushing yourself that much. So ever since I became a full-time coach, that was like a really sped up version, but ever since I became a full-time coach, I kind of looked at, Success Club as that's something that I can control. Like that's something that I can show up every day and put in the work and change lives. That's on me. That's on my shoulders. Leading my coaches, that's on my shoulders. But, I can't sit with them every day and basically hold their hand. What is my responsibility is finding these people and helping them change their lives. So when I started, though, I was like, okay, the social media thing, like the only thing people have seen out of me on social media is probably like in the bar, or like super, like what is going on, and then all of a sudden I'm like inspiring. So I was like, I totally did a 180 on my social media, and I've been bullied. I've been ridiculed. I've been laughed at. I've been all of the above, you name it. People were talking about me networks, my family, you name it. We've all had it happen to us. It's just part of standing out, to be completely honest. Pretty sure Beyonce has haters. I don't know. I mean, I don't think she has many, but they're, you know, the Kardashians, sorry if you hate them, but they have haters, even though they're wildly successful. Nobody can step out of a crowd and not get kind of barked at or put down because there's too many people that don't want to step out of the crowd. But I believe that we have the opportunity to be those people, to show those people what's possible for themselves. So that's truly what I look at social media like. And when I started, I really didn't. I was like, okay, so now I'm a coach and I have to be like a coach. So what would a coach say? What would a coach wear? What would they, you know, what would they post? What's inspiring? What's motivating? I need to be all these things because that's what a health and fitness coach would do. But the best coach is someone that is just committed to sharing themselves. And I'm talking all of it, every last piece, down to the weird, awkward habits that you have. And I'll get to like really showing your life when we talk about Instagram stories. But I just think we forget sometimes that like we're actually so much more different than anybody. I mean, that we're literally, I don't know if you guys are Jen Sincero fans, but you are literally like the only person on this planet that is like there's zero other people that are you. Like, let that sink in. That's so insane to me. And sometimes like I have these like crazy spells, and I'll also get to that. And my boyfriend will have to be like, Mackenzie, like, it's okay. Like, this is who you are. Like, relax, you know, like this is not a crutch. This is a good thing, you know, like every single thing about you is a good thing if you want to see it that way. So it's about that energy that you put out there. It's about, you know, not trying to live up to anybody else's standards and just trying to become your best. So I know Dana said like social media is a skill that we want to master, but really you are what you want to master. Like, you are what you want to master every day. And you always got to be open to that. You always got to be open to that journey. I'm not talking about like, how do I lose 10 pounds so I can show a before and after picture? Like, literally, I started this morning routine. I was talking about it before some of you probably got on here. And it's just another like thing that I can talk about going through. Like, if you're constantly putting yourself in new positions and new waves of growth and change and different, you know, I tried out for my church to sing at my church. That's something like I stepped out of my comfort zone. That's something to share. All those things like help people see like who you really are and like what's really going on behind the scenes. So it's about an energy. I think everything, and this is a Jim Sincero reference again, everything in this planet has energy around it. Like, even our cell phones, even though it's like, of course it has energy, it has like service, but even though you're scrolling your Facebook and that might just seem like something on your screen, it has energy behind it. Like, I just truly believe that. I truly believe that when you press post, you have a decision of what kind of energy you want to go out into the universe behind that. And so often it's like, just like, let me get this out there. And I'm not going to lie, guys, like I have days like that. Every single day isn't like peachy keen jelly bean, you know, like, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I need to show up here and bring as much energy as I can to the table and serve as many people as I can with this post. So think about that the next time you're getting ready to sit down and write a post or to create content. Like, what is the energy behind that? Like, what would it sound like if you read it out loud? Like, what is your intention behind it? Is it to sell a challenge pack? Because I'm not saying like don't post to fill challenge groups and attract coaches packs, but I'm saying like post to say, who will this challenge pack serve? Who will this coaching opportunity serve? Who am I speaking to that like needs to be home with their kids or needs to lose this weight because they're seriously ill or they have anxiety and depression and they need this community and they need this outlet? Like, who can I reach like that? Not just like, how can I sell a challenge pack? How can I recruit a coach? So you can't always expect an immediate return though. So please raise your hand, just like totally be open and honest here, guys. Have you ever put your heart and soul into a post where you're just like, oh my God, like, like I totally just broke through so many barriers and you're so proud of yourself. And all of a sudden, like you get 6 likes, or, you know, the dream coach that you thought you were going to attract, like doesn't even see it. And it's just, it feels kind of shitty. You know, you're like, oh man, like I tried so hard on that. I stepped out of my comfort zone, right? I'm sure all of us have. I know I have. We put a challenge group post out there that we're so passionate about, or a transformation that literally means the world to us, and it just doesn't get the feedback that we want. We cannot expect an immediate return. Like that is, I think, the worst thing that you can do to yourself in this business when it comes to anything. A post, you know, growing this thing. It took me almost 2.5 years to go full time. I'm not saying it's going to take you that much time, but I'm just saying you got to be patient, and you got to be doing it for bigger reasons than, you know, that immediate return. If there's anybody that was used to immediate return, it was me. I used to bartend, so I literally would walk out of every shift with like a wad of cash, and I'm like, sweet, you know, there's my car bill, like this is gonna pay off my rent, bada bing, bada boom, come in tomorrow, show up again, I'm gonna walk out with more. And it's super hard to like wrap our heads around the fact that we have to do a lot in this business just because we want to, like just because we care. Like every single social media post that you put out there has got to have the intention to like serve someone and not just serve you. Like I know it's not bad to want to grow a business, because I believe the bigger goals you have in this business, the more lives you're going to change. So I don't ever think small, but you have to have that like understanding that it's about putting as much value out there as possible. And when you do that, it's going to come back to you. And it might not happen in one day. It might not happen, you know, like for 5 months, but it might happen and be like, holy crap. Like, where did this person come from? I don't even know. When were you born? Like, how did you just come into my life? They've probably been watching you, or the universe has been listening to you. I don't know if you're like spiritual, or what, but you know, like these last couple days have been like crazy for me. I got the $100 from Carl and the little note, and Dana's call, and Liz asked me to speak on her call. And it wasn't like 2 days ago that I was having a panic attack, you guys, because I was freaking out. I felt scared about, you know, building this because of just the reality that I want to build, and it feels scary sometimes. But when you put out into the universe that you trust it and that you're gonna keep going, it brings things back to you like that. So just remember that, like the days that are hard, show up and give something else to the world that day. Like give something to somebody else, have a meaningful conversation, post something on social media that is going to speak to somebody else. Okay. You have to be willing to rip off a Band-Aid a lot. So like I said, I know we've all had that post where you're like, holy crap, I just feel like I shared my entire world. Well, that's probably going to happen a lot. So get used to that. Get used to like being open to something earth-shattering or crazy that makes you want to like kind of makes your stomach turn happening. Get used to like being open about sharing that. I think the more we tell ourselves like, oh, it's not that crazy that I'm just going to talk about, you know, getting a note from Carl Deichler, like that isn't scary to as scary to me anymore, because I've just conditioned myself to understand that like that's just part of this. Those big leaps and those big jumps like that are just part of that growth process. And you really aren't going to get very far if you stay super still and stagnant and tell the same story over and over and over again. Letting somebody know, this is like one of my favorite things about social media, because yes, it might feel intimidating that there's millions of people out there that you can reach, but it's also a way to let millions of people out there know that they're not alone. That's going to go so much farther than sharing what you have to offer. So just by letting somebody know, hey, this is what I'm going through, they're going to read that and be like, I'm not like, oh, I'm not the only one. That is, I don't know. I know you guys have probably been following the Me Too movement. I know I have. That is the power of just telling somebody, I've been through what you've been through. And it's like, I don't care if it's something that, you know, big or as small as like not being able to have a savings account. I just recently shared about that. I wanted to throw up. But I was like, you know what? There might be somebody else out there that feels totally trapped and scared and just vulnerable every single day because they don't have that security. And maybe they're going to look at me and be like, okay, she's doing okay, so I'm going to be okay. Or maybe I'm going to ask her ask her how to be even better. So let people know that they're not alone in your social media posts. I know Dan just said, speak to their pain points. So that also brings me to the fact that you want to talk about the pain points and the hard stuff, but you always got to find the silver lining. You always have to become the hero of the story. And if you're not ready to be the hero yet, that's okay. You don't have to talk about it yet. And I'm not saying like wait till everything's perfect to share, but you know, don't make your feed just a bunch of this is happening and I'm complaining and BS. Like, we have hard jobs because it's our jobs to find that silver lining. That's super hard. Like, dig through the crap. It's super hard to grow yourself. It's super hard to like realize you have all these things within you that a lot of people don't even ever find out about themselves because they just like are over in like la la, I'm fine, I'm super just like going through the motions land, and they never have to deal with their demons and their gremlins because la la autopilot land doesn't require that. But like, I don't really want that life, so I'm just gonna leave that there, and I'm gonna be over here facing those things. And when you show somebody that you're doing that, they're like, oh, I didn't even know that was an option. Like, I didn't even know it was possible to break through these things that I'm going through. So it's really powerful to let somebody know that they're not alone. But let's switch to some happy stuff, because you don't want to be, it doesn't all have to be like really deep and vulnerable. And I'm not knocking that, but let people see the happy person that you're working to become. Like, show them why these workouts make you so happy. Show them why these team calls make you so happy. Show them why you're excited to throw on an outfit and just like totally rock it. Like, those are what's going to inspire somebody else to just want to be that happy. Like, I'm not saying be fake. I'm saying show people like the things in your life that bring you so much joy, because most of the time you're going to attract somebody whose dog also brings them so much joy, or just riding bikes at the beach. Like, those are the smallest things I think we forget about sometimes that make you who you are. Like, how do you like to spend your Sundays? Like, how do you enjoy spending your Wednesday nights? Like, why do you love getting on these calls? Like, what does that mean to you? What is it about all of this that makes you super happy and just lights your soul on fire? So make sure that you are doing that too. Because I know, like, sometimes it's really easy to be like, I have to be inspiring, I have to be motivating, like, oh my God. And we forget, like, just show your joy. Just let it be seen. Don't worry about pleasing everybody else. And just, have you ever like just saw somebody walk into a room and you're just like, God, like, wow, they just look so happy. That can be you on your Facebook news feed, right? And a lot of times, like, that is the best medicine. That is the best thing to just bring somebody to you, because they're going to be like, why? Like, what are you doing to be this positive? Or how are you going through these really hard things, but also like super happy? Like, that's, like I said, like, the autopilot world doesn't understand that. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about trust. This is like my favorite part. Think about like every single friend that you've ever made in your whole life. And I'm just going to like use this as an example, because I grew up in like a really small town where literally every friend that I had was just because they were the only friends to have. Like there was like no one around. So everybody that I went to kindergarten with, I basically graduated high school with. And any new friend I made along the way was probably somebody that I knew through someone. So I never really met like brand new people. So weird to say, even like kind of in college. But when I moved to Florida, I only knew like one person. I moved here last May, so over a year ago. And it was like super scary. It was like the scariest thing I've ever been through to like go to my bartending job and just like have normal conversations with people and like make friends, because I didn't know these people. I had no like little, you know, 5 other people to ask, hey, are they crazy? Like what, you know, should I be their friend? Okay, well, if you're their friend, then I'll be their friend. Then cue in meeting the guy that I am now currently still with. I'd never, ever been out with somebody like who I didn't know from like a previous time or didn't have mutual friends with. Trust is super important, because I don't think it really is something that has to do with time, but every single friend that I bet you'd ever say you trust with your life, or you trust, you know, as your BFF, you probably created that bond whenever you bonded over like a similar experience or a similar struggle or similar lifestyles. So yeah, it was super hard. Not actually, it wasn't that hard to like trust my boyfriend, because I just like love him. But basically what I'm saying is it's scary to step out of your comfort zone and talk to strangers. Okay. So think about somebody watching us on social media. They don't know us. All we are is just like, you know, a face on their screen every day. So then think about how hard it is to talk about changing your life, to actually admit that you want to change, or to actually admit that you have things about you that you're just not happy with. Because it's hard enough to admit that to ourselves. Imagine trying to talk to somebody else about that. So put yourself in those people's shoes. Of course, they're not just going to reach out to us after one message, after one post. They're going to want to keep watching us. They're going to want to keep seeing if they relate to us, if they want to become our BFF, if they feel comfortable sharing their deepest, scariest, most vulnerable things with us. That's why we have to consistently share why we should be their best friend every day. And I'm talking like, even with the happy stuff, because I got a lot of best friends that like the same clothes as me, like to drink Prosecco. So that stuff's important too. But trust is really, really important with this. And it's what is going to build you like lasting customers, lasting coaches, because when they come to you, they're ready. They're not like, I'm just going to try it out. I mean, you're going to have those people. That's fine. But I'm talking like, that's where you find your lifers. That's how you build a really strong tribe and really strong bonds with people. And I know Dana and Annalisa will back me up on that. It comes down to trust. And a lot of that trust is built through our social media posts, because once they come to us, of course, we build that relationship through a challenge group and things like that. But they want to feel that trust with us before they reach out to us, before we reach out to them. We can build that trust with them before we even send that invite. So when you're doing that, it has to be so vivid that you're painting a picture for people to choose. And this is like something that I really worked on a lot more lately, to just like either take somebody back to a time or take them forward to a time. So like, for example, with maybe like with weight loss, like I can remember in college, like going to go shopping and literally avoiding the fitting rooms and purposely buying clothes that were like 6 sizes too big, because I was afraid to go home and come to find that the next size up was also too small. So instead of trying things on and running, I would run from fitting rooms and just buy like 4 sizes too big. And I, you know, that's something that you can literally visualize. Maybe crying in front of a mirror, and I'm just using those kind of like as an example, but, or, you know, being in the grocery store and freaking out that your groceries are just, that is something that that's a real life problem. That's a real life feeling. Like that will literally make some people's stomach turn. It's been me before. So think about those things in your life that make your stomach turn. Like think about the things that you've been through that were gut wrenching. Like fights with your boyfriend, like that shit's real. Nobody's relationship is perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. And I'm not perfect. I struggle. It's hard to talk about, some of the stuff like that. When I shared about not having a savings account and what that felt like to me, I was like, oh my God, people aren't going to think this business is legit. And I'm just, like all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? No. A lot of people don't have savings account. A lot of people don't have security, right? Like it's not because of this business. This business is what's going to pull me out of that. So that takes me to where you're going. Nobody wants to come with you if they don't know where you're going. And I used to be like, well, how do I share my future? Like, I don't know what my future is, but that's where we have to come back to your vision. So one thing that I talked about with that in that post was like, I want to be able to hold my future child. I don't know if it'll be a girl or a boy. I hope it's a girl. And I want to I literally see myself in the hospital, like holding her and looking down and just being like, I'm not stressed about money right now. Like that is the ultimate goal. Like a house, sure. A car, sure. We all need cars and houses. We need food on the table, but that is like my feeling, ultimate moment. That is my ultimate moment that I think about daily, and I can paint that picture. And how many other girls are out there that can put themselves in that position as well? So think about your vision, and then think about how you can paint a picture to help somebody else put themselves in that position, to get that feeling out of them as well. I'm kind of like back to the struggles, guys. Like if you're only always telling people that coaching is like super awesome and like this like grand thing, then they're probably going to sign up and think that like in a day they're just going to build this like bajillion-dollar empire. I think it's awesome to share that you struggle. Like I think it's awesome to share that you have fears and that like you are, I don't know, like you are not confident in this area, but you know what? You overcame that fear. It's okay to like share that you're hustling your butt off. Like don't not share those things because you're afraid to scare people away. Share them because you're like, I want to attract people who want to work as hard as I want to work. I want to attract people that will weather the storms that I've weathered. That life, holding my child and looking at her and knowing that I'm financially secure and I don't have to worry about the hospital bill and I'm not going to have to worry about the first trip to the grocery store to get diapers. I want people that want to fight for something like that. So I think that's where we have to take that fear of like thinking, like don't think small and don't think you're going to scare people. Because I used to think that way. Like, I don't want those people with me anyway. Because they're not obviously going after this, they're not in this for the long haul. And it doesn't have to be a vision like that, but whatever it is, like don't be afraid to like share the struggles behind things. That doesn't discredit coaching. That doesn't discredit our fitness journeys. It just shows how much stronger we are because we fought to get to where we're going. It's going to show them how hard we fought to get to where we are. Okay, so how do we do that? I don't know what time it is. Sorry if I can't see the time. Are we good on time? Okay.
It's 9:09.
Okay, I'm almost done. So I don't know if you guys use Instagram stories, but holla, they're so great. I don't know. I don't feel like you should. I don't have like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm not super tactical. Like I don't have like charts and, schedules. I just like wake up every day and I'm like, okay, how can I just put myself out there as much as possible? Some days it's more than others. Some days I'm a little more woo-woo-woo than others. And that's literally me. Some days I lay in bed and I do 2 hours of work. Some days I am bouncing off the walls like a psychopath. Can't explain it. Don't know why it's that way, but it just is. So, like Instagram stories are a way to like share even more than what you put in a post. Put your workout on there every day. Consistent. Put your Shakeology on there every single day. Every single day. Because I guarantee you those people are going to be like, she's drinking that again? Again? What is this? Seriously, that's 7 days in a row. And you think that people don't think these things. I'm telling you, people love to see behind the scenes. They want to know what you're doing. Show them. Show them that you read personal development every day. Give somebody a reason to click on your little bright circle at the top. And I've had so many people be like, what is that? What is that shake? What is that chocolate thing that you're always drinking? I was going to ask you about that. What are those words? I was going to ask you about that. And that's the curiosity. So when you go to invite somebody, when you go to talk to somebody, they already know kind of like what you're talking about. So like if I went to somebody and was like on Instagram, for example, and was like, hey girl, like, and probably, I share wins that my challengers have in my challenge group. I put those on my Instagram story. I share transformations. They know that I'm helping people see success. So when I go talk to them, I'm like, hey girl, like I'm running this online health and fitness group. Wasn't sure if you'd be interested. That is literally as simple as my invites are. I like don't ever go past that because all an invitation is like an invitation for more conversation. We should never go into an invite and be like, she's okay, I hope she says yes, because she won't. And then we'll probably feel down on ourselves and then we'll feel like failures and want to give up. So always go into an invite as like, I'm just inviting them to have more conversation with me. And it's like super chill. They're not like, oh, like, I don't really know what it is, so I'm just not going to say anything. Or I don't really know what it is, so I'm just not going to say yes. Just get to know them. That is the most important thing that you can do, is be a listener and be somebody that asks questions. Because I wait until somebody says, yeah, I really struggle with workouts. Or yeah, like I'm just struggling. Like I work these crazy hours and I'm eating out all the time. That is when I talk about Shakeology. When they're like, I just, I'm at the gym and I'm not seeing results. That's when I talk about our workouts. I don't just like throw it out there, at the beginning, because what happens is people need to see how what we have can solve a problem they have. So ask questions to where they tell you a problem, and then literally we have the solution to literally every single thing that somebody could have a problem with: nutrition, finances, business, workouts. So make sure you are asking questions in those conversations. That's almost it. Yeah, so I don't know if that helps, but basically the point of like the vulnerability on social media, it's changed my conversations, because I don't feel weird when I'm just like, hey girl, like, how are you? Or, hey, I have this online challenge. I was just wondering if you were interested. That to me is not spelled out to them who I am every single day, especially the people that are watching my Instagram stories. You can check and see who that is. Do not feel weird by messaging people and just asking that very, very simple question, because this is going to sound harsh, but this was a wake-up call for me. I literally had to ask myself one day, like, are you seriously robbing someone of the opportunity to either be financially free or, lose the weight that they need to lose, pull themselves out of depression, reach their full potential? Are you literally robbing them of that because you don't want to press send? Like, actually, guys, like, what is so scary about that? There are a lot scarier things. Like, honestly, like, think about that. There is so much more to be afraid of in this life than whether someone's going to say yes or no. But I am afraid of not asking because that would just be selfish. And I'm not saying I'm perfect every day. I'm saying when I recognize that that needs to be at the forefront, that's what I do. And like, that's my thought process behind it. So 3 things that you've never shared before. These are some like little, these are some assignments. 3 things that you've never shared before. Write them down tonight and share one of them in the next 24 hours. So best thing to do is take action, right? Like if we sit and wait, then we're going to talk ourselves out of it. So write them down so you know what they are and you can come back to them, and then share one of them within the next 24 hours. And then just go invite 5 people. Like literally, I'm going to get off here. I have a notebook full of 20 names that I'm just going to go start a conversation with. Just go see if they would be interested. That's all I'm asking you to do. Just like, hey girl, would you be interested in XYZ? It's like super like, put some emojis. Don't, like overwhelm yourself. Just make it as like relaxed as possible. And then the last thing that I want you guys to do is just when you get off this call, sit in silence for like a minute or 2 and just like congratulate yourself for a second. Like how often do you just like sit back and say like, I'm really proud of you. Like you did a lot today. Like you overcame a fear today, or, you were brave today, or you helped somebody today. Like how often do you just sit and like thank yourself? It sounds weird, but you need to become like gracious, like have gratitude towards yourself so you can move forward. Sit in silence and think about that, and then get really, really specific about that next hurdle that you want to jump over, that next mountain that you want to climb. So that's all.
I really love your last tip. Because it is so friggin' seldom that I ever do that. I think it's important.
It's funny how we pick ourselves apart probably more than we like just, I don't know, tell ourselves good job. Like you might not have done everything that you wanted to today, but you showed up in some way. And I think it's important to recognize that, or this can feel really daunting.
I do. And I think because sometimes you make these super long to-do lists, or you try to overachieve and then you don't get half of it done, or you only get a certain part, and then you focus more on what you didn't do rather than what you did do,
Yes, exactly. Super.
Okay.
That's like a whole nother call.
It totally is. Does anybody have questions for Mackenzie?
Sorry if that was like super long. I appreciate it.
No, it was perfect.
Okay.
Anybody? No. I love 2 things in specific that you said. I think all of it was great, but I loved what you said about sharing the struggle doesn't denote your success or doesn't discount your success, because I think so many times you are so afraid to share when you miss a goal, or when you're struggling, or you've fallen off track, or you've missed a goal, or you feel like you fell flat on your face, and we tend to not want to share those things. But I think it's so important what you said, that when we do share it, then when you do succeed, it helps other people see that that is possible for them too. So I really, really love that.
Definitely.
And there was one other thing I wrote down, but no, I don't know where I put it. Does anybody else have a top takeaway that they want to share while we're on, since we usually always do that in the team page?
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm at work and my chairman of my surgery department started talking halfway through the thing, so I didn't hear everything.
That's so cool.
Yeah, heart surgery. But one of the things that I really struggle with is I don't openly think about my struggles. I just kind of like, this is what I got to do, and I just focus on it. So I have a hard time figuring out what my struggles are to post about them. I have no problem sharing anything. That's not where I get hung up. I just need to find ways to like look at myself and figure out what my struggles are, if that makes sense. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but do you have any good tips for like sitting down and really figuring out where you need to grow and where you struggled in the past and where you struggle with your future, like kind of, I don't even know what to say.
No, yeah, I feel like that makes a lot more sense than you probably think. I think what you just might be really used to is like putting your blinders on and not like feeling all the way through like what is actually maybe hurting you more than you realize. So for me, like what this business really opened my eyes to was anxiety. So I used to just like not even really think it was there. Like I was like, I don't have problems in social situations. Like I'm actually fine. Like I don't, whatever. And then I started to recognize that like was really a problem. And I think like it's that moment of like kind of surrendering yourself to maybe something that's happened in your past, or maybe something that and it might just take you some time to kind of like, it's one of those things where you just, I don't know, you said you didn't really feel like you struggled, but at the same time, like, I don't think you would have asked that question if there wasn't like something kind of deep in there that, like maybe was toying with you a little bit that you're just not quite ready to like surrender to and just admit to and talk about, which is like totally fine. So I think what would be good is just to, I'm sure, I don't know if you're really into personal development, or just take some time like during the day to reflect. I think like, I don't know, right now you're in a hospital and it looks like you're doing surgery. So that to me is crazy. I could not imagine that lifestyle. And I'm sure you've got to keep yourself together a lot, if I were to guess. So practice like breaking yourself down, if that makes sense. Like pulling your walls down, maybe drink a little bit of wine, like watch a sad, I don't know, put Grey's Anatomy on. I'm just kidding. But like basically just like, ask that. And I don't know you very well, but that's my advice, is kind of spend a little bit more time reflecting on yourself. Maybe it isn't a business struggle. Maybe it's not a nutrition struggle. Maybe it's not a fitness struggle, but maybe there's something within your life somewhere that you just aren't surrendering to yet. Because the hard thing is once we realize what we need to work on, then it's hard not to work on it. So kind of facing things sometimes is like the hardest part, I feel like. But kudos to you for being on here while you're at work. I totally used to do that. When I was a manager at a bar, I would like leave and just literally leave the bar. It's so bad. Yeah, luckily I never got
I'll share too, Mackenzie, because I can relate to that feeling. Sorry, it's so dark and I hate being this dark. But like what Dana said, we're basically like, not even for new coaches, but for me, like when we are struggling with something in the business or when we're like pretending to be somewhere, instead of just casting that vision more and showing people where you're going. I love that. And I also, in response to Ashley, Ashley and Lachlan on the National Wake Up Call was talking about like doing one of those like elementary school webs where you have like struggle in the middle, and off of that you just like, it's just like brain dumping, like things you could talk about. But I think tying that into like a journaling activity where you just brain dump at the end of the day, and from that journal entry you just pull out like an area of struggle, and you can just kind of keep that in your repertoire. This is kind of where my brain is going. I don't do this, but this is something that I'm thinking of starting now, because I'm trying to become a better storyteller on Facebook as well still. So, but yeah, that's kind of where my brain is going now. So maybe that's something we could do.
I just started doing like the 3 things you're grateful for, and then the 3 ways to win the day. But I just want to add something really quick to that about the struggles. Like, so you guys, I went full time, and I basically had a $2,000 pay decrease, because when I went full time, I still had a full time bartending job, and my business wasn't necessarily at the place where I was ready to just make a full-time income and get by the same way, like living the same way that I was. So I had to downsize a lot. and there was no running out and, you know, buying shirts every week, and there was no just in like mindless spending anymore. And it started to kind of like make me discount myself a lot. Like I lost a lot of confidence in myself, and I started to think like, you know, put myself in this category of like, oh, I don't have this, rather than what I was so grateful for and what I was wanting to earn. So I get how like in those moments you don't feel like it's going to be inspiring. You know what I mean? Like you don't feel like I'm going to inspire somebody with the business until I kind of dealt with all of this fear that I was going to inspire somebody in this business if I told them I was in debt. Like I felt like I was not going to inspire somebody if I told people money. But the fact of the matter is like, that's where I'm at right now. Like 2 months ago, I had that pit in my stomach of not having enough money at the grocery store. And then I think to myself, I cannot wait to tell them next month how I had, you know, an even bigger paycheck. I can't wait to tell people how my savings account has grown to this amount. And I can't wait to tell this story one day about struggling like that because of where I am. So always keep in your mind that when you talk about those low moments, remind people where you're going and then use that as accountability. It's not discouraging when people see you be real. Like that's all anybody wants if you think about it. Like if anything, that's more inspiring than anything. When somebody sees you probably say something that they would never in a million years think about telling somebody on social media, they're gonna have so much more respect for you. And just for that simple fact that you like talked about something that they would never like in a million years probably think about sharing. So I don't know if that helps, but totally true, Annalisa. It's hard to do that. It's hard to do that. This is so great.
I just have to add to this because I am obsessed with this topic. Was somebody asking a question?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No. I was going to say, like, I've thought about this a lot in the past, and I think about it even now, like, in terms of, think about how your conversations with people that are coaches or that are involved with Beachbody are so drastically different, typically from conversations with, say, people that you, like, meet out at a bar or when you're at your corporate job or whatever you're doing. Like, they're typically a lot more surface level in your normal life situations. And then you come into this coaching world where we're like, dig deep, feel things, work through it. You need to grow. And it's like hard. And like you said, Mackenzie, like it's really hard to dig up certain truths or certain struggles because when you realize what they are, you can't run from them anymore. And like, I don't know about you guys if you can relate, but pretty much my entire life involved numbing, like numbing out to feeling things or acknowledging things. And if I didn't have to acknowledge it, then I didn't have to face it and I didn't have to work through it. And I feel like once you come into this world, it's like, if we don't start to bring truth upon those things, or like you said, release resistance and like work through them and own them, like they become roadblocks for us. Like what we are not willing to grow through and bring truth to becomes a limit that we have to live within. So I feel like this conversation could get really deep, but I just had to say that as like, it's a mindset shift of being kind of surface to kind of digging deeper. So.
Okay, one last thing. All I'm going to say is, guys, too, is like, don't always think the problem will have something to do with fitness, nutrition, or coaching. If things don't feel right everywhere else, and I'm not saying like go drastically change all of it, but I'm saying like work through it, express yourself, you know, like talk to even like your significant others or, you know, your family. If you're struggling with your family not supporting you, like shine a little light on it. And because all of that also is all of you, like that's a part of you too. So that's a part of your business in turn. It won't always all be perfect though. So might as well just, that ain't nobody's life.
So it's funny you just mentioned the whole family piece because I'm dealing with that right now a lot. And how are you sharing those kind of things that basically include very close people in your life, or like close friends who are just not supportive, or just in general, like hard things, like when you did the savings thing, like for us, like another reason why we're doing it is like the financial debt that we're in right now. And like, that's really hard for me to put out there. Like, I don't really want my parents to know that. I don't want my sister to like really know the truth. I don't know if I really want anyone to know that. Like, how do you get past like worrying? Like, yeah, I guess what.
Okay. So first I want to say that, so I'm with somebody who has a child, and we have very trying moments. It's not something that that's hard for me, because I also have a very dark history with divorce, family issues, things that I've seen and been through. And I wish that I could express more about my past to explain the struggles that I now bring with me in my own relationship, but I can't because of my family. And it's a privacy. That to me is a personal privacy thing. And it's hard. It really is. It's actually like working me up a little bit, because that is the one area of my life that is great. It is incredible. But at the same time, I work through a lot of things when it comes to relationships, just because of kind of what I've been through. So when it also comes to the debt thing, my dad actually called me today. He's never really been super supportive of this. Well, he's been supportive, but he's like, I don't really think it's real. And, he was like, I just don't know if this is like a real, like, full-time thing for you. Like, because I've shared that. And I'll be honest with you, it's kind of like, I sit in my house a lot because I work from home now. And now when I've been out in public, I'm like, wonder if that person saw my post about struggling financially. That's awkward, and like, I'm about to go home and see my entire family, and I'm like, I wonder if they're all like, is her job even real? And it's one of those things where, like, with the debt and things like that, if that is like a true purpose behind your business, like if that's part of your vision, then not sharing that is not going to bring the people into your business that also want something similar like that. So for me, like, sharing that was about kind of like overcoming that barrier of business, because I knew I had to share that to attract people to me that want those similar things. Otherwise, I was just going to keep sharing and sharing and sharing and sharing and expecting, something different in return. But really, it was like a piece of that was like what I needed to do to get over that hump to like grow my business. As far as the family thing, like talking about my relationship and like talking about the struggles that I've been through with like a divorced family, and why that has brought me kind of like these, those things that we got to deal with, why I'm dealing with that now. It's actually hard for me to not talk about that, because I want to talk about it. I want to talk about what we go through and how we overcome it, and what I go through personally and how I'm overcoming it. But there are some things that I do understand for privacy. I cannot put out on Facebook the feelings that I feel about things that I've been through with my family, just for their protection. However, I'm not going to say I never will. I'm not going to say it'll never show up in a blog, but on a Facebook post, I don't know. So I also think blogs are a little different. I don't know why I feel that way, but it's kind of like a more private, I don't know. Do you guys agree? Like, it's not as like a one-time Facebook post thing, but try maybe just like putting it all down at one time. Like, put every single feeling that you have. Don't worry about the length, and don't worry about whether or not you have a blog, but just get it out. Like, talk about it, and then talk to your family about it. Just be like, listen, you guys, like, maybe they don't even know that this is like really how you feel and this is what you want. Maybe they would be supportive if you just talk to them about it. So I don't know, just, it has to be, where you're going has to be really strong, like really, really strong. And if your goal is to pay off debt, then you could be missing out on all these awesome chicks like you that want to pay off debt. And they're probably afraid to talk about it too, and probably afraid of what their parents will think of them. So I don't know if that helps.
Absolutely. I appreciate that.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it is hard because we all know we can't necessarily share everything. But I just want you guys to know, like, that doesn't make you a fraud, and that doesn't living a double life. You're just making the most of your life. And like, family's hard. Let's just be honest. Family's hard. It's like, I actually, posted something about my boyfriend's son, and his ex-wife approached me. That wasn't fun. Okay, so there will always be things. There will always be people. And Natalie really pointed that out to me. There's always going to be people. There's always going to be reasons why we shouldn't say this and why we shouldn't say that. And it's kind of just where we decide like what's important, and for me, talking about debt, talking about a savings, that was important because that's where I'm taking my business. So I needed the world to know that to attract the people who also want to achieve those kind of goals as well. So I just love you guys are so fun. You're so inspiring. Like, I'm like, is this like girl time? I need wine.
Can I just quickly add to that? I think your advice is awesome, but I personally, like, with going through custody stuff, there was so much that Mackenzie, just like with what you said, like, you want to share it so badly, like it kills you, and it's really hard not to share it because you do feel like you're a fraud, and you feel like there's certain days where there's something that's like so tough that you just want to like put it out there, but you can't, and like, it would connect. But I think that if there's certain things that either you need more time to get comfortable sharing, or you need to feel like you need to get more well-versed with sharing, or that are things you can't necessarily share right now, but maybe down the road you could. I think writing it out, like you said, but I also think that talking to your upline coach or other coaches on your team about it, or just saying like, hey, I wrote this out, will you read it for me? And like letting other people in on your truth kind of to get kind of comfortable sharing that might help you build the confidence to actually close your eyes and hit the post button one day.
Absolutely. Totally. Oh, I love that, Whitney. That's so cool. Oh,
I love that. Does anybody else have questions for Mackenzie? No.
Sorry, that ran long. I could go on forever, so you guys should probably stop now.
All good. Well, sometimes we don't have questions, so clearly people loved your topic.
This was great. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know who said that. Sarah?
Barry. I feel like I'm listening to everyone talk about being scared, and I feel like I just say it all out there because, I don't know, the more stuff you go through, you realize everyone else has lots of struggles that they're not talking about. And I just want to put one thing out there. Like, a lot of you have said, like, scared to talk about things, but once you start putting stuff out there, it's crazy who starts writing you and that they have their struggles. So, the more vulnerable you are. My family happens to be supportive, like immediate, I don't know, extended. Like, I feel like they still think it's weird. My aunt actually said something to me recently that did bother me. So I guess I can relate. She was like, I'm really worried about all the pictures you put on the internet of your son. And, obviously I think anyone who puts kids on in their posts, like, think about that. I mean, I think you wouldn't be not normal if you didn't think about that. But it sat with me, but like, it's your life, it's your bank account, it's your financial future. And hopefully one day you can turn back to your kids and be like, you helped us build this, right? So like, this got you into college. This did all this stuff. So that's what I feel like. I don't know if you guys can like join in, or if anyone else has the kid feelings. I think that's the only struggle I have actually is with pictures. Like, I'm not sure. We don't know what Facebook's going to look like in 10 years or who will have access to it and everything.
I think that's a great point. And I just love how you're like, it's kind of just it's whatever you want to do. Like, like, it really is. Like, I love that. You're just like, well, this is my future. It's their future. So it's kind of our decision. But I actually had a similar comment like that told to me. So it's hard. There will always be opinions, right? That's for sure.
I think.
Thanks for adding that, though.
Sari, it kind of reminds me of what Josh Coates said on that call, where he said, you have to say to yourself, I care more about my family than I care what my followers think. I think that holds true here too.
Yeah, it's hard when it's a family member saying something to you.
Of course.
Yeah.
And she specifically talked about a post that it was from months ago, and then I'm like, I didn't even know you were reading my stuff, you know? So.
And like, I don't know about anyone else on here, but like I have a super hypersensitive mom, and like even if I post like, hey, I loved growing up with baked goods in the house all the time, and now look at this healthy recipe that I use to jazz up one of my favorites, she's like, do you think I'm a bad mom? I cooked you brownies. And so like I have to have like this makes me happy. I'm doing it because I want to also continue those traditions with my futureling. I'm pregnant, so I can't drink wine right now, but I wish I could drink wine. But I have to have the talk with my mom probably like every 2 weeks or once a month, just to be like, I'm not saying this because I didn't love my childhood. I'm saying this because what you did made me a better person. And then I just assume her comments on my posts about whatever is just more traction. So it is what it is. But I think as long as, if it's someone like my mom who's hypersensitive, if you talk to them about it and say, you know, I loved what you did. I'm not saying that's because you're a bad mom. I'm doing this because it makes me happy, and I hope you respect that. Most people, at least that I've run into in my family, like, how can you hate on that? You know?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. That's what I've told my family. I'm like, this is about the people that I can help, not about, this isn't like my dad said something to me one time because I put MF after a word. And I'm like, okay, this is seriously just you worrying about what other people are going to think about you. And so that's not my problem. Like, that's your problem. You're worried about what other people think. I'm not. You're worried about what people think of you because I'm your daughter. So, like, it's, we have a great relationship, but at the same time, like, I've had to stand up to him in those ways at times. And it's, like, frustrating because you're like, why don't you just let me do what I want to do? But I also think, it's just because I want to try to protect us as well. So this was awesome. Thank you so much. You guys are great. I just want to hang out with all of you. Let's I just want to be on here every Wednesday just to hang out.
You're welcome to come hang out, girl.
I hope this was helpful. Yeah, I hope it was helpful, and I love talking through these things too. So I actually literally feel better right now, just sharing. It just feels good to do that. So thank you.
Alrighty, ladies. Well, thank you, Mackenzie, so much for so much insight and so much knowledge and inspiration. And thank you, everybody else, for hopping on. We will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.